I ate by myself in my car after graduation until the principal knocked on my window. If you've ever felt lonely during a moment that was supposed to be happy, this story might feel familiar. Before we begin, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt stories. Let's start with a story about surprising kindness and new beginnings. I never thought I'd be eating a cold burger alone in my old Honda Civic on graduation day. I could hear cheers and music from the school gym while I sat in a far corner of the parking lot, watching happy families take photos through my foggy windshield. My graduation cap and gown were tossed onto the seat next to me, and my diploma sat unopened on my lap. Everyone else had someone there: parents, grandparents, siblings, friends. They were smiling, taking pictures, and planning dinners together. I had sent out invitations 3 weeks earlier. One to my dad in Arizona, one to my mom's rehab center in Oregon, and one to my older brother, who was too busy to care. I wasn't surprised when none of them showed up. At the ceremony, Principal Harrison called my name like he did for everyone else. I walked across the stage, shook his hand, and smiled for the camera. I heard a few claps, maybe from teachers who knew my story, but when I looked at the crowd, no one was there for me. So I got changed in the bathroom, left through a side door, and grabbed some fast food. Now I was sitting alone, eating soggy fries and wondering if this big day would always feel so empty. Suddenly, someone knocked on my window. I jumped, almost choking on my burger. It was Principal Harrison, still in his graduation outfit, looking at me through the glass. I slowly rolled down the window, expecting him to tell me I should go back inside. Instead, he asked, "Mind if I join you?" Before I could say yes or no, he walked to the other side of the car. I quickly cleared the seat, pushing my cap, gown, and old textbooks into the back. "Sorry it's messy," I said as he climbed in. "I've seen worse," he said, trying to sit comfortably. "You should see the teacher's lounge." We sat in silence for a moment. I held my burger, not sure what to say. I'd barely talked to Principal Harrison before. He'd only call me into his office twice, once for skipping class to work on a scholarship, and once to tell me I could be valedictorian if I worked harder. He finally spoke. "I noticed you didn't come to the reception." I shrugged and took a bite of my burger. Didn't feel like celebrating. "I get that," he said, nodding. "After my graduation, I hid in the library. No one would think to look for me there." That surprised me. He always seemed so serious and put together. "Why?" I asked. He smiled a little. "My parents got into a loud fight about who I'd live with after graduation. It kind of ruined the day." He paused. They'd been divorced for years, but they chose that moment to bring up old fights. "That sucks," I said awkwardly, not sure what else to say. "It did," he replied. "But that day wasn't really about them." I gave a half laugh. "Yeah, well, today's not really about anyone for me. No one here for me means no pressure, right?" Principal Harrison turned toward me. "I've seen your grades, Ethan. I know what you've been through. Working nights at the warehouse and still keeping a 3.8 GPA, that's not something just anyone can do." I shifted in my seat. I didn't like talking about it. Since moving out last year, my life had been all about surviving, balancing work, school, and trying not to fall apart. I'd even started sleeping in the school library sometimes just to get some quiet. "It's not a big deal," I mumbled. "Other kids have it worse." "That doesn't make your achievement any less important," he said. "When I saw your name on the graduation list, I made sure to watch for you today." "Why?" I asked. I wasn't a troublemaker, but I wasn't one of the star students either. "Because 4 years ago, your middle school counselor called me," he said softly. "She told me your home life was falling apart, that you were missing school. She thought you might not make it through high school." He paused. "She wasn't trying to be negative. Statistically, kids in your situation often don't graduate." I remembered that time too well. Mom getting worse, Dad leaving, losing our home, crashing on couches, then staying with my brother until he gave up on me too. "Yeah, well," I said, trying to stay calm. "Spite can be a good motivator." Principal Harrison actually laughed. "It can. But what you've done took more than that, Ethan. It took something special." We sat quietly for a bit. I wasn't hungry anymore. The celebration noises in the distance felt like they belonged to a different world. You know what I think, he finally said. Sometimes we focus so much on who isn't there that we forget who is there. No offense, but I've mostly been on my own, I replied, my voice getting defensive. Have you? He asked gently. Ms. Reeves stayed late every Tuesday to help you with calculus. Coach Phillips let you use the showers when your water was cut off. The cafeteria staff made sure you always got a little extra. He gave me a look. And someone let you crash in the teacher's lounge that week you had nowhere to stay. My face turned red. I didn't know he knew that. Miss Coleman had given me the key and asked me to leave before the early teachers arrived. You weren't alone, Ethan. Not really. You didn't have the usual kind of support, but people cared. I looked down at my hands. I'd spent so long thinking about what I didn't have, parents, a celebration, someone in the crowd, that I hadn't noticed what I did have. Teachers who broke the rules for me, staff who looked out for me, and a principal who had been paying attention all along. I have something for you, Principal Harrison said, pulling an envelope from inside his robe. This was supposed to be a surprise at the reception, but since you're here, I took the envelope carefully. Inside was a card signed by what looked like the whole school staff. Congratulations, Ethan. We're so proud of you. You're going to do amazing things. The card was full of kind messages. But what shocked me most was the check paper clipped to the inside, a scholarship fund, enough to pay for my first semester books at community college. We know you already got a partial scholarship, Principal Harrison said. So, we all chipped in to help cover the rest. It's not much, but it's everything, I said, my voice cracking. I cleared my throat. I don't even know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Principal Harrison replied. Just make sure it means something to you. I nodded, unable to speak. He glanced at his watch. The reception's almost over. I should get back. He opened the car door but stopped before stepping out. You know, Ethan, he said, looking at me one last time, we're shaped by the people who show up for us, not just the ones who don't. He paused. Sometimes we have to give others the chance to show up. Then he stepped out, adjusting his graduation robes. But before closing the door, he leaned down again. The staff is meeting at Donovan's Bistro in an hour. Just a casual get-together. It's something we do every year. You'd be welcome if you want to come. Your choice. Then he walked away back toward the gym. I was left alone, with my cold fries and a card that suddenly meant more than 100 family photos ever could. I stayed there for a while, thinking about everything he said, about how I'd been so focused on who wasn't there that I'd missed seeing who actually was. The parking lot slowly emptied. I watched families leave, laughing and hugging. But for the first time, I didn't feel jealous. I started to wonder about their lives too. Maybe not all of them had it easy. Maybe some of them had struggles I couldn't see. I started my car. The school looked different now, not just a place I was desperate to leave, but a place that had quietly helped me get through. I carefully put the card in my glove compartment like it was something valuable. Then I checked the time. That gathering at Donovan's would be starting soon. Just thinking about going made my stomach twist. But I also felt something else, something small and strange. Hope. I searched for the address on my phone. It wasn't far. Maybe I'd just drive by, no promises. Just see. As I put the car in reverse, I noticed my graduation cap in the back seat. I reached back and placed it beside me in the front. A reminder. I made it. I actually made it. And maybe, just maybe, I didn't have to celebrate that alone. 20 minutes later, I pulled into Donovan's parking lot. I almost turned around 3 times. But then I saw Ms. Reeves getting out of her car, laughing with Coach Phillips. Miss Coleman was already holding the door open, now wearing flats instead of heels. These people had seen me at my lowest, falling asleep in class, wearing the same clothes for days, struggling just to keep up. But they had stuck around. They had shown up. I took a deep breath, grabbed my graduation cap, and stepped out of the car. Principal Harrison noticed me first. He didn't say anything dramatic. He just nodded, like he'd been expecting me. But Ms. Reeves smiled wide and waved. Ethan, you made it, she called out, like I was the final guest they'd all been waiting for. As the other teachers turned to greet me, I felt something shift inside. like a knot loosening or a weight I didn't even know I was carrying lifting off my shoulders. No, my graduation day hadn't been picture perfect. There were no proud parents, no family photos, no cash-filled cards. But as I walked into that restaurant, surrounded by people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, I realized something. I had something better. I had a group of people who saw me, who showed up, who reminded me that I mattered. Sometimes, life doesn't look like we hoped it would. Sometimes, we end up eating alone in our cars while the world celebrates inside. But sometimes, if we're lucky, someone knocks on our window and reminds us we're not as alone as we think. And that can change everything. If this story meant something to you, please like and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us keep sharing stories about resilience, connection, and finding family in unexpected places. And remember, you never know whose window you might need to knock on today, or who might be knocking on yours.